Sorry, I got distracted.
What distracted you, Ali?
Some footsteps outside. We're in an amazing room with sort of clues everywhere, and I feel like I'm in Clue with Tim Curry.
Hey, Ali.
Hey, Andrew.
It's the Showstopper Podcast.
Isn't it just?
It is. It's our monthly chat to amazing people from the world of musical theatre, improv and comedy, where we get them to make up a song with us and generally have a good old time.
We had a brilliant guest on this month's podcast.
Absolutely. Jonathan Andrew Hume.
A stalwart of West End musicals, really, having spent numerous years, maybe 10, 15 years in the West End itself.
He was in The Lion King. He was in one of the Showstoppers' favourite shows, Come From Away.
Absolutely.
We all melt when we hear the mention of the now departed Come From Away, no longer in the West End.
Yes, of course. But when we get Come From Away called, we just love it, don't we?
Oh, man, yeah.
We get all that stomping going and our folklore going. It's great.
Welcome to the insert name or place where we are.
Welcome to Hull Truck.
Exactly. Does it work with any other theatres?
Welcome to the White Rock in Hastings. Would also
good.
work. Sorry, I got distracted.
What distracted you, Ali?
Some footsteps outside. We're in an amazing room with sort of clues everywhere, and I feel like I'm in Clue with Tim Curry because there's a table with gold decoration in it and footsteps happening outside.
Yeah, and there's a picture opposite us with two yellow circles and then a yellow semicircle and the word up, and at the bottom the word chin. And it looks like it's a sort of pictogram sort of puzzle thing.
Yeah, and there's another one just behind you that's a similar design that says enjoy. And another one over there that says smile. And I can't help thinking they're clues, Andrew. We're in an escape room.
Do you like an escape room, Ali?
I do. Do you know what I don't like is doing it as a showstopper.
Oh, why's that?
You know, what you're going to sing about, there's nowhere to go.
Oh, you mean you don't like doing an escape room as a setting in Showstoppers?
Yeah, because we
I thought
often
you literally
have
meant you don't like socialising with the Showstoppers at an escape room. I was like, all right, Ali.
I mean,
harsh.
as a social activity with our group of friends, that would be quite challenging.
Yeah. So next time you come and see Showstoppers Improvising Musical, if you want to delight Ali James, suggest escape room as a setting and we'll see what happens.
The last time we did that, it was trapped in an escape room.
Oh,
which is even another level, isn't it?
Yes. I think it was a pretty good show.
It was a good show. It was in Edinburgh. Excited for Edinburgh. We've released our tickets.
Can you believe it already? It is only at the time of recording February, and yet tickets are already on sale for the 2023 Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Isn't it great that the Fringe is back with a bang? Everyone's up for it. There are so many brilliant shows going up this year.
Absolutely. And if only some of those accommodation costs will come down, some people can come and watch the shows too.
Escape room those costs.
Absolutely. This month's episode of the Showstopper Podcast, we recorded back in December, backstage at the Lyric Theatre in the West End.
Yes, and we all had butterflies in our tummies because we're about to do our last West End Showstopper of the year, weren't we?
And we had Duncan Walsh Atkins on keys, and we also had Showstopper Lucy Trod in the room with us. Shall we have a listen?
Let's do that, please.
Jonathan Hume, welcome.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
How are you doing? You look very well and happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you for taking that note on. No, I'm actually really, really good, actually. Although not really loving this cold weather. I'm not a cold person.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're recording this back in December when it is very, very cold.
It just snowed last night, which was really cool because I got a 2-year-old who's turning 3 in February, and it was his first conscious,
Wow.
experience of the snow. So we were out in his snow boots and his snow jacket and stomping around and making a snowman. And I realised I'm really, really bad at making snowmen.
I have a 5-year-old. We also made a snowman on the way into work today.
Yeah.
Lucy, you also have children. Did you make a snowman on the way?
There's no snow where I am.
Oh, where are you?
I'm in Folkestone in Kent. I passed lots of snow on my epic journey in, but there was no snow yet.
Oh.
No, but it did snow maybe somewhere in the lockdown. And we live near a place called Little Switzerland, which is a campsite in the cliffs. And you go up there and it really does look like you're in another country.
That
Wow.
sounds really cool.
There's no snow in Essex either.
No?
No.
Normally
Oh,
you
that-
get it.
I made a gravel man just to join in. It's so great that you made it in because you're very busy at the moment, aren't you, with
Yeah.
your show? Tell us all about your musical theatre extravaganza.
Oh, I am in a lovely, beautiful, fantastic, gorgeous, how many other words can I use to describe it? Show called Come From Away at the Phoenix Theatre. And I've been doing that since we opened in 2019 here in the West End. I know. So is that 4 years minus, and then you minus the lockdown period of 18 months? Which has been absolutely fantastic to actually do that show, because not only is it on paper an amazing gig, but to actually perform and live out the lives of those real people and actually see the emotions of the audience as you do it, it's so special, and finish every single night in such a great place. And it's going to be hard to say goodbye because we close January 7th, unfortunately.
So you're the first and the last.
I know.
Seen it
I
right the
know.
way through. Most people listening will know Come From Away, but for those who don't, what is Come From Away, the musical?
See, this is really funny because I'm really normally quite bad at explaining the show because a lot of people think, oh, it's a 9/11 musical, which it really isn't. The show is about how the 5 days. See, this is how I find it really hard to explain it. The show is about the 5 days after 9/11, when the terrible tragedy happened in New York. All these planes were in the air at the time, and they all had to be diverted out of the American airspace and go somewhere. And 38 planes were diverted to Gander in Canada, this tiny, tiny place, very remote. Not many people knew about it. And they landed there. And as they landed, they pretty much doubled the population of the place. And as this was an emergency and there was no preparation for it, all of the inhabitants of Gander and Newfoundland basically took it upon themselves to house, feed, clothe, and take care of all of these 7,000 guests, have it, in their town, in their city. And it's just a beautiful story about generosity, kindness to your fellow man, and also the highs and lows and fun that happened in those 5 days to these 7,000 people plus the people of Gander. It's beautifully written, some gorgeous, gorgeous songs in there, and it's a joy to play and also to watch as well.
It's a real ensemble piece as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You couldn't really say who was the main part.
No, I mean, it's 12 actors. I mean, it's very, very minimal. 12 actors on stage, 14 chairs and 3 tables. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and some
we've
trees in the background.
Yeah, some very, very bare boned. You even see the band that are playing in the back, and they join us on stage at some points during the show because they are part of our company. So it's very much physical theatre. We create airplanes, we create schools, what you name it, we create it out of tables and chairs. And it's really, really quite interesting to see how the audience's imagination just completely joins with us in that. It's fast paced, there's no interval, it's 90 minutes through, I think. And before you know it, it's done, but it's so wholesome and so life-affirming.
Even if you have a bad seat, as I did, I sat at the very back row at the very top, and I was absolutely in bits watching it. I thought it was so beautiful.
That's what's beautiful about the Phoenix Theatre, is there literally is no bad seat to watch our show. And we have so many people that come back and see the show again and again and again. I think we know of at least a couple of our Come From Away community who've seen the show at least 100 times.
Wow.
Do you
that's
think
commitment.
since the pandemic people have had more of an in to understanding what it is to sort of be kind in a kind of unusual time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the story obviously before the pandemic had its way of actually affecting people and getting people to understand and you know, just kind of get in with what it was all about. But then obviously after the pandemic, we experienced a different level of a need for community. People were dropping things off at everybody else's doorsteps, clapping for the NHS, everything that was going on just kind of really ruminated on everyone to look after each other and take care of each other and realize that there is more to life than what goes on day after day, because, you know, things were shut. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go out and socialize and stuff like that. So you had to find ways to keep going. And it was through keeping in, like, making bubbles with people and thankfully we live in a day and age where we have FaceTime and things like that, that we were actually still able to keep in contact, support each other and be there for our fellow man.
And so when you went back to work after the pandemic, what were those first few shows like, Jonathan, when you were back on there? It must have been electric.
I mean, we didn't really know what to expect because we'd been away for 18 months. We knew what our show was about.
Yeah.
We knew it resonated with people in certain different ways, and we knew we had a fan base. But also for those that hadn't seen the show before, they were just really excited to be back in a theatre, you know, and to watch something. So as soon as the lights went dim, it was like England had scored the final goal at the World Cup.
Wow.
It was just
what's that like?
of
Who knows?
applause.
I imagine.
You know, but yeah, it was like a roar of applause, and it just kind of hit you. And Paddy, who plays the mayor, literally had to just wait on stage and just wait because you couldn't start the show.
Wow.
Because there was just too much noise that even the microphones wouldn't go through that. And at the same time, it was really encouraging and heartfelt to actually have that support from the audience and the theatre community, and just know that they've got our backs, because we were out of work for 18 months. And, you know, I'm not going to make it very political, but the government, it felt like the government wasn't really on our side, and we didn't have that support. So to know that we go back to our job and get that rapturous applause and appreciation for it was just... yeah, it was amazing.
I feel like as an audience member, the show does a really good job of making people feel like they belong as well. Like you're given a sticker. It's like there's all like stuff happening in the rooms up on your way to your seat and stuff. And the social media is really good as well.
Yeah, we don't have fans of the show. We have our Come From Away community.
Nice.
That's how we see it. And it really does feel like a community, because it's not... and this isn't in any way to say derogatory, but in terms of the word of a fan, it's not in a way that people are completely and utterly besotted over one person whatsoever. It is literally, they are supporting what Come From Away is about, how it makes them feel. It's so cathartic, and there are so many ways that people relate to it that they just feel so much joy and so much emotion that they follow the show, they come back repeatedly, and even though they know what's going to happen, it still hits them every single day.
And it's about to go on a tour, isn't it?
Yeah, we've the UK tour has just been announced for the beginning of 2024. A bit of a while away, but I think that everything else is going on tour. So it's like everyone get in line for the theatres. So 2024, the beginning of that, and Come From Away will go around the country. And I know for certain, looking at the social media and everything, a UK tour has been asked for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So people are going to be coming in their droves to come and see the show.
And in terms of your journey with it as well, you've had a really interesting adventure, haven't you? Playing a few parts.
As I said, you know, there's 12 actors on the stage, but we essentially portray 7,000 people plus plus the people from Gander.
That's multi-rolling, man.
It is very multi-rolling. So we have one or two principal characters that we play. So mine are Kevin J, who is one half of a couple who are both called Kevin. And the other main principal role that I play for that is Ali, who is an Egyptian chef. If you haven't seen the show, I'm not going to go any further because it will ruin it. And then we have and others. So I have many other characters. There's a guy called Dwight who's a Newfoundlander, and there are other characters which we kind of have a little bit of a liberty of creating roles for these people. So sometimes I play a guy in the back of a town council who sometimes he's a bit of an alcoholic. Sometimes he's just really excited, and you get a chance to actually just create these roles and make them alive because the text is so rich, and there are so many people that would be in that situation as well. So it makes it really, really fun and keeps it fresh for us every single show.
That's great that you're entrusted with that flexibility, and I'm hearing that about more and more West End shows, that there are these little pockets of action happen within the show where it's like, yeah, the actors, you know, they get to stretch their muscles in a different way each night. And like you say, it must really galvanise you as a team and keep you fresh.
Completely, because we're all on the same page as well. So if you've got 12 people that are all, you know, I mean, obviously talking to the right people, but you're all improvising at the same time to create something, knowing what your barriers are, it just makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
And how was it doing the accents? They must have a good coach on that show.
Yeah, we have a really, really good accent coach. He actually does a lot of accent coaching for a lot of the Hollywood movies, to be honest. His name is Joel, and he's not strict, but he's very on it. He's based in America. So when we first started, we did a lot of work with him via Zoom. And sometimes what happens is every so often you'll get a little ping in your email box and it's like, oh, Joel's been sent an audio clip of the show, so here are all of my notes.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
But it's really, really good because he works in a way which actors can understand, so it's not necessarily very technical, so he can really relate to you on a person-to-person level. So a lot of my notes tend to be with the American Kevin J, and the R sounds. I always slip the R's, and then the Newfoundlanders, because we're on this side of the Atlantic, we're very much used to hearing the Irish accent, so we put too much of that in it, and he's like, yeah, pull it back, it's not Irish, there's just a hint of it. So yeah, it's really, really fun learning all of these different accents, and I get to do Egyptian, Newfoundlander, American, and whatever improvisational accent I'm doing at the time.
Do you ever come into the wrong scene doing the wrong accent?
That has only happened once. And do you know what's really strange about it? Is because the show is so fast paced and it's a very bare show, like I said.
Yeah.
As well as the 12 actors and the 14 chairs and tables, there are very minimal costumes as well. So for me to be as Kevin J, I'm wearing a t-shirt. For Dwight, the Newfoundlander, I just put on a denim jacket. For Ali, I put on a Kofi hat. So these minimalistic costume changes make such a huge difference to me as an actor at the time. So there was one time I forgot to take the hat out of my back pocket to put it on, and I instantly just went into American.
Amazing.
And it was just weird that connection
like
was
memory.
Completely muscle memory. Also, because it's so fast paced, if you don't have muscle memory, you get so left behind in the day. So thankfully I was able to pick it up because it did feel weird saying those words in a different accent. But it was very strange that there was that, you know, that relationship to the costume and the acting.
We have that in
Showstopper
sometimes, don't we? Where you're the only one doing, like, I don't know, Northern Irish or something, and that everyone else is American, or, you know.
The hardest one, I think I might have said this on the podcast before, the hardest one I always find is doing Irish against someone else who's doing Scottish.
Yes.
Oh my
goodness. Completely messes with your head.
There's always a lot of hat action backstage in our show as well, as you can imagine. So you know, early doors in the show, you probably come on with some sort of hat, and like your show, that really signifies who we're playing and their physicality and voice work, etc. But then later on in the show, if you put your hat somewhere and you can't find that hat, and going from your stripped down kind of bare bones show of Come From Away and the physical stylings of that to how we met, which was when you were working on Lion King.
Yes.
I mean, they couldn't be more different, really.
Completely.
I watched a clip of Circle of Life yesterday, and it still just makes me cry. It is a true
20 odd years now.
Yeah, it's just a spectacle, isn't it? And it's coming from such a warm place of wanting to share this beautiful story.
I think because it was so ahead of its time in terms of the invention of the puppetry for this continent, should I say, because of the puppetry is very, very ancient. But for us to see it, it was very ahead of its time. We didn't really know what it was about, and it was very mysterious. So even 20 odd years on, it has such a huge impact on everybody. Plus the fact that it's accessible to all ages.
You don't even know you're crying in that show.
No.
I remember that particular bit that I won't ruin, to do with an aisleway and a particular
I think it's 20 odd years.
Yeah, it's
now.
20 years old, Lucy. You can...
The elephant.
The animals come down the aisle.
And you played Simba, of course, the lead character.
I did. I was really fortunate that I played it not just in the West End, but I also played it in Singapore.
wow.
2 incidences as well. So yeah, I did it for a year back in 2011, and then after that I came into the West End, and then I decided that my time with Lion King had finished, and I'd left, and I was in Leon C at the time where I was living, and I got a phone call out of the blue from the worldwide director who was just like, what are you doing at the moment? I was like, oh, I'm just cooking some lunch. I was like, okay, can you hop on a plane tomorrow and come to Singapore? We really need a Simba. So then I went out there for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Cut to you swinging on a rope in your amazing corset the next day.
It was really strange though, because it never leaves you, because I think it has that impact on you. And the story is so familiar. I just was able to just go in, and obviously there were a couple of lines I had to remember and stuff like that, but it really does never leave you.
Wow. It feels a bit like the opera world, where you can swan around the whole world doing your Don Giovanni, because it's like just that role is now yours and you own it. And
Exactly.
I know I do.
all the time.
one
Lucy's
asked
Don
me to.
Giovanni is impeccable.
You played multi-roles in that too, right? Because I have memories of you in the ensemble being part of that amazing sound in Shadowlands when the ensemble are wearing those dashikis, and it's just such an incredible uplifting sound, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been really, really fortunate with The Lion King. The way that, it was my first professional West End show, and I started in that aged 17.
Oh, wow.
Back in a while ago. And
3 long years ago.
Remember it like yesterday. And so I started in an ensemble in that. The Back of the Rhino was my claim to fame on that one. And then as the years went by, I was able to graduate and become a swing and cover so many different characters, as you were saying, Ali. And it was such an educational experience to be able to have my head in so many different places at the same time, think and pre-plan how things were going to go ahead before they happened, and also live in the moment of the theatre and create and be creative and get the story across. It was such a great experience, and I miss it. But also at the same time, it's quite chaotic. So there are, I think it's on a specific day, I miss being a swing.
Sure.
Yeah.
It is a real set of muscles, isn't it?
Completely.
And thankfully nowadays, there's so much more respect and understanding for swings and understudies and appreciation. There are even, I think, Twitter accounts, aren't there?
Yeah.
West End understudies celebrating when someone goes on to cover, because they really are the inner workings of theatre. Where would we be?
Of course, they save the shows, and in moments where there are crises and people are sick or on holiday or whatever, they're able to just jump in at a moment's notice, and because of the skill set that they have, they can just pull it off and the audience have no clue. I got a friend of mine who just jumped into the musical Mandela 5 days after it opened, and literally, I think it was on the day of or a couple days before, literally got in, learned it, and straight on stage.
Wow. Yeah, that's some skill set,
you
right?
often just have
Amazing.
less time to practice, and you have to be almost better than the original, so no one knows.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
But, and then also, as you were saying, with the Twitter accounts and everything like that, the understudies and the standbys and the alternates, they also have a following because of the appreciation of the work that they do and the difference that the different kind of cadence that they can put on the characters as well. It's exciting, and even more exciting to watch them in a kind of masochistic way, I suppose. Just to see what's going to happen. It's really great that they have that appreciation.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
a sort of classic underdog story, though, isn't it? That sort of rags to riches. Like, you want that person to do well.
Yeah, and also for myself, I've been in that position. I've been a swing, I've been an understudy, and I've also graduated and become a principal. So I'm very appreciative of the journey of that.
And some understudies will have a role in the show as well, but some just have to sit there. And
Yeah, it's another world, and I'm glad that the recognition is actually being put out there for them.
Absolutely.
You joined the ensemble in Lion King when you were 17. That must have been quite close to it. Were you in the original West End company? Or must have been quite
No, I
close
started a year and a half after it
Right.
opened. It opened in 1998, and I started in the end of 1998, and I started in 2001. So is that a year and a half? My maths is terrible.
Something like that.
Something like that. When I did start, I was 17 myself, and I actually started with Alexia Kadim. I don't know if you know who she is.
Yeah, we had her on the podcast.
Oh, did you? She was 17 as well, or was she 16 when we started together? And the age difference between us two and everybody else was quite huge. So I think Disney were kind of taking a chance on us teenagers jumping into the show, and thankfully we were able to take that on, learn as much as we possibly could, and also at the same time with our peers and our colleagues take on the professionalism and kind of absorb what they did on stage and put that into what we do. It kind of was like work experience.
I was going to say, if you're 17, that means you haven't done uni or drama school, so this was your drama school.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get into Mount View. And I remember this clear as day. I was in my secondary school, my sixth form, and I got a phone call from Mount View, or my mum or whatever.
In the days when
that,
people rang.
Yes, I know.
So more exciting, wasn't it?
And it said, "Oh, you've got into Mount View," and I was ecstatic about it. I thought, this is brilliant. Right, I'm going to go. This is amazing. And then the next day, I was at school, and I got a phone call from my agent saying, "You've got into Lion King," and I just thought, oh, this is a huge dilemma. What on earth do I do? And I took the route of learning on the job.
Yeah.
Which was 100% a really, really great move to make. And I know how fortunate I was at that point to have that option. However, as I was growing up, and even sometimes now, I do miss the fact that I didn't go to theatre school. There are pockets of moments when you're rehearsing a show or whatever, and someone says, "Oh yeah, this is like such and such technique," and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I couldn't agree more.
But then at the same time, I have this experience of working on a job and learning how it goes. And even though some of those techniques I may not have an idea what they are technically, I do know what they are in my head because I've experienced it as I've gone along. So it's been very, very interesting ride. And again, I mean, I think I'm saying the word fortunate so many times, but I am very, very fortunate that in my, what are we in, 2022? 21-year career, I've probably not been working for about a year and a half. So I'm really, oh, actually, no, probably 2.5 years, because I forget the pandemic.
Brackets pandemic. We can always minus the pandemic.
Write that off.
I think that's quite a common feeling, though, because I didn't do the drama school route. I did uni, but I always have this kind of everyone knows what they're doing, that sort of imposter thing. But depending on what the discipline is, like, if, I recently did a play for the first time, actually like professional play, and I was like, everyone has a technique, but they really don't. Everyone's winging it, and everyone, they might have a certain way they annotate their script or the certain thing they do to vocally warm up. But these are things you have to learn what you need. It's not like one thing suits all.
Exactly. That's what's beautiful about the creative world, is it's your own self, whether it's creating art, whether it's building, whether it's on stage. You have to put yourself into it, and no one can teach you about yourself. That's part of your own discovery of your life to do. So yeah, I completely agree that.
Yeah, but you've done a lot of musicals, but have you done much screen? So if you went to screen, would that feel like a new thing as well? Or?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I was in the new Mary Poppins movie. Well, it's not really new anymore.
Yeah,
but
Mary
Poppins Returns. Yeah,
I
was in the green screen of that, so I was basically the reference for the weasel. There was like the weasel, there's 3 animals and they kidnap one of the kids. So I was the reference for that. And that was such a learning experience. It was so great being in the room with these 3 actors, myself and these other 2 actors who were being the reference for that, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Emily Blunt, and the 3 kids over the space of months to create this gorgeous scene, and just being able to watch these people at the top of their game work, and to work with the director Rob Marshall as well was insane. It's such a beautiful experience. It's something I definitely want to do more and more.
Yeah,
of.
wow.
Where did you learn to dance?
Next question. No, I would say that I am an actor, singer, mover.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Is it a bit like us in Showstopper? Like, apart from Ali, like in our head, we're doing...
Lucy, we aspire to be actors, singer movers. One day
but you
we'll
know,
get
like
it.
when you're on stage and you're doing a kind of dance move, and you're like, and you watch because sometimes we record the show just so we know what happened, and then you watch it back and you're like, oh, in my head that looked really, really good.
I'd say that sounds very,
bit
very
like that.
familiar. I think nowadays also the theatre is actually more welcoming to movers as well. So when I'm going in for an audition, they do understand that people don't necessarily know how to do triple pirouettes, rond de jambe and all that sort of stuff. I don't even know if I said that right, to be honest.
Yeah, that is.
So they will give a little bit more time on teaching the choreography and when you get the job as well. So I'm very fortunate that my dance skills I can learn in my own time. Let's put it that way.
I mean, you did such brilliant physical work in Lion King.
I know.
Like, I mean, that
However,
role,
if-
Simba.
If someone had said to me, "Oh, that's really, really great. Now do it on the other leg," no, that wouldn't happen. No.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
With Mary Poppins Return, you mentioned your reference to animation. Was that a motion capture performance or a...
No, it was myself in a completely green costume.
Yeah.
And we were doing all of the moves for
Gotcha.
the animated reference. And what was great about Mary Poppins Returns is they did all the animation old school. So there's very little computer work that was put into it because they wanted to kind of, pay homage and keep to like the original kind of
The little
animation from it
penguins
as well.
and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
So there was a lot of work on my knees because obviously we're working against these kids who are,
Kid
3
size.
feet
Kid
tall.
shape.
Yeah, kid size. But it was really quite cool because you saw things like when they would throw an object to you, we would use like a tennis ball as a reference, and things had to be really precise because these animators would literally take it and create around the movement of that. And then making sure when I'm lifting, because it was a mix between animation and live action, so there was a point where I would lift one of the children onto the back of a wagon. So it was making sure that my hands were in a position where the animators could still feed around the live action, the real character as well. And so that would be done again and again and again because my hand was in one position or they needed the actor to be in a different position as well. So it was really quite interesting to see on a technical level how detailed things had to be for that.
Literally bringing the cartoon to life,
Completely
becoming the
amazing.
drawing. Wow.
I thought it was such a beautiful film as well. It's such like a high risk thing to make a sequel to Mary Poppins, but it just seemed to me it was made with such love and such heart.
Yeah.
And Emily Blunt is phenomenal. Lin-Manuel Miranda, the charm and chemistry of those actors is amazing, and it was so wonderful. I thought.
Yeah, it was very, very. I mean, even back in the rehearsals, seeing all the storyboards and everything they created, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they had it down to a T. And from what I saw of the scenes that I was working on, nothing changed. They did it all as they wanted, and it just came out perfectly. When I did actually audition for a role in the movie, I was auditioning for Lynn's partner, his chimney sweep partner. Which obviously I didn't get that role, but my audition had obviously made an impact enough that they called and said, "Would you like to take this role?"
Oh, I see. It was off the back of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
There's
brilliant.
a lesson.
I've done one sort of reference job, not on nearly such a massive scale as that, on a video game. It was a video game of a movie called G-Force, which was like a weird thing about like spy hamsters in like early 2000s.
Sounds like a showstopper show.
It's really strange.
Was this a dream, Andy?
So I played the Nicolas Cage role. Nicolas Cage voiced the thing in the film. But the way they made the video game, because they only have like, a couple of hours of Nicolas Cage's time, they needed, a Joe Bloggs to do all the lines. And then weirdly, Nicolas Cage then had to go into a studio and listen to my performance, which they'd animated to. And then he had to copy what I'd done and do my timing and stuff, which is
So
such a
the
weird
way
thing.
I heard that
Yeah.
was that you went and did this job and you taught Nicolas Cage
Yeah.
how to perform in that video game.
Essentially, the reason he's so terrible in that video game is he had to do all of my timing and internet. Isn't that a weird thing?
What about Con Air? Did you help him out with that?
Every time you see Nicolas Cage on screen, I've done his lines first.
I love that.
So, Jonathan,
Yeah.
I'm just really interested with your sort of lifestyle of being a West End actor. When you are in a show for a long time, what's that sort of like? What's your day-to-day life like being in Come From Away?
Well, I think it kind of changes from when you start the job. It's, you're really feeling it out and you haven't got into your groove of it yet. So we've got 8 shows a week. So depending on the show, it can be quite tiring. I know Lion King was extremely grueling on the body, and I had to spend pretty much any time I wasn't on stage, I was very careful about my voice and my joints and going to physio or massages and stuff like that, so that I think my personal life was kind of more affected on that show than it is now. So with this job, I think it's more about just making sure that you really keep an idea of what the show is about. There's a big thing about leaving any sort of emotional baggage at the door before you come in, because it's such a delicate piece that if you start bringing in anything that may be irking you or anything outside in the real world, it can affect your performance. So a lot of that is just trying to find a balance between it as well.
Yeah.
It's such an emotive piece, and I would describe myself as an emotive person as well. So when there are hard moments in the show, it does affect me.
Yeah.
Even though we're doing it 8 times a week, I still go to a place where it does affect me. So it's a matter of also making sure that you don't lean too far into that, where you come out of what the story is about, or you're in floods of tears and you can't actually do the show.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of emotional thoughts and yeah, just kind of making sure that that's all put into check.
Kind of getting prepared for
Yeah.
that show each
Yeah.
time. It's amazing, isn't it, what actors can go through in these productions. Like when you hear of the Scottish play being performed and actors sort of wetting themselves every night or things like that and getting themselves to that psychological place every time. You really are like a vessel for the story. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't ever probably do that. That sounds a bit over the top.
There's a limit.
Do you think that
Who
person
wets
has to like...
themselves for every show?
Yeah, as far as actually.
I've never heard that before.
Oh, I thought Judi Dench...
I'm not saying you're making it up. I've just never heard it.
I thought Judi Dench
I feel like Jane
wet herself
Horrocks did it.
Was it Jane
I
Horrocks?
feel like it was Jane.
So that's a lot of drinking a lot of water every day.
I mean, also, why would you
Fact
admit that?
check that.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a psychological place, isn't
No,
it?
I do get it. There is a way to actually go there in terms of the psyche and that sort of stuff. But I think the balance is making sure that you don't go to a place where you can't control it.
Yeah,
Like that movie of
literally in this case.
what's his name? The Mask guy. I've completely forgotten his
Jim
name.
Carrey?
Jim Carrey. If
Yeah.
you've seen that movie of him,
Yeah,
you'll know
the
the facts about
documentary.
this.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
great. I can't remember the name of the movie now.
Is it called The Man in the Moon?
The Man in the Moon?
Oh,
that
yeah,
one.
Andy
I haven't seen that.
Kaufman.
Yes,
Yeah.
when he was playing Andy Kaufman, he completely lost himself, and the director could only talk to him as
It was
Andy.
Milos Forman, yeah. Yeah, he was Andy Kaufman all the time on set, and it was driving him to really extreme depth. My favourite anecdote is the one day he rang up Milos Forman and said, look, as Jim, and saying, I've been talking to Andy, and, it's getting quite difficult on set. And me, Jim Carrey, I can do a pretty good impression of Andy Kaufman. Do you think maybe from tomorrow I should just come on stage and I could do the part and just do an impression of Andy Kaufman, and we'll just leave Andy Kaufman at home from now on? And Milos Forman said, no, I want Andy.
Wow.
Just wouldn't let him off the hook.
Incredible.
That is incredible.
What a place to go to.
Well, you do hear about like the method acting and people really going into that place. I don't know. It's very fascinating to me.
Yeah, same.
I think it takes a certain type of person to be able to have that strength to go there, and to uphold that, and to really like persevere, and also at the end of the day take it off and become yourself again.
Yeah, exactly. You imagine you have a 2-year-old, I have a 5-year-old. How do you do that? And then
And then
go
come home
and-
to real life.
Yeah, right.
Have you ever had that in Showstopper where you've just like got so involved? Sometimes I catch myself at taking it really seriously, and then I make myself laugh. But have you ever like completely?
We did that one show where we were all in tears in the curtain call.
Is that the Somme one?
No, that was before my time. There was one called, it was set inside the mind of an old woman who...
Jose.
Mother Jose.
Yeah, Mother Jose. An audience member's mother. And he gave this suggestion inside his mother's mind, sort of weirdly. And then, it turned into this story of someone who was in hospital and suffering from dementia. And I think she maybe died at the end of the show. Probably about half the way through, we sort of weren't in a kind of comedy musical anymore. It's like this has become so serious that it's like we just had to treat it with a certain amount of respect and seriousness, and then it ended and we're all in floods of tears. And then the guy came up and he was like, yeah, she does have dementia, and that what you've just plucked out of the ether is all real.
Yeah, that's so spooky, isn't it? I mean, that was in Edinburgh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's something in that sort of collective agreement with the audience as well. You make a pact, don't you, that we're going to do this, we're going to honour that, and let's see where we go.
But it's amazing that you guys are, as much as it is so off the cuff and it's all improvised and you're thinking on your feet the whole time, that you are so involved in it that the emotions still fly. I did one of your workshops shortly after the pandemic, and I had the most amazing time. But it was so hard to be thinking like 2 minutes ahead, but also make what's coming out of your mouth make sense and follow the story. Because you're not just thinking and performing, you're listening probably 5 times more than you normally would do, and watching other people and trying to make an idea, a guess of what they're going to do next. And I would suppose that the relationship you guys have as a company is so tight knit that you can probably, finish each other's sentences.
Yeah, it's a bit like that relationship with your family sometimes, isn't it? It's like, I don't know what you're going to say, but I know you well enough that I know that intake of breath from Lucy means she's got a gag. I know that Ali has that look in her eyes. It means she wants to do the next scene because this is dragging a bit. We get that sense, right?
Those are definitely the looks we have.
In the nicest possible way.
I just go
What
around
look
with
does
that look
Andy
in life.
have?
I have no tells.
I think Andrew's look is, I hope it's South Pacific next. Because you're so brilliant at those genres. Or you're brilliant at all genres. You're a genre captain, really, aren't you?
Too kind. On this note, Jonathan,
Yes.
how about you sing a song with us right now?
Okay, let's give it a go.
Oh, at the moment when you're waiting in the wings and it's time for you to go on stage as an understudy.
This is our moment.
What are we going to do? Right. Have you got everything you need?
Yeah.
Do you know your words?
Yeah.
Right. What's the first line? Oh, I got it. Here I am, standing, looking at your face.
Yeah. Here I am. On the stage is my favorite place.
I take a breath in, I look in your eyes, and then I realize
Tonight's gonna be our moment, I can tell.
as long as I remember the words. What's the next line? Remember the words.
It's gonna be fine.
With you by my side, I look around and everything makes sense.
When I look at you, I know I'm with my friend. As long as I remember the words.
What's the next line?
As long as I remember the words. It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine.
As long as I remember the words. Say, what is the next line?
To be or not to be. That's not right.
As long as I remember the words.
What's the next line?
As long as I remember the words. You know what now is our time.
I know with you by my side, I'm gonna be fine. And now I remember the words.
Remember the words.
Take a step into the light, and now it's our time.
It's our time.
We remember the words.
We remember
it.
How scary was it making up a song with us?
Ridiculously scary. I mean, I was also sitting on the outskirts of it all, just looking at myself going, you did that wrong. Oh, got that note wrong. That doesn't sound right. But it's so much fun creating something out of nothing.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Anything you want to plug?
If you are interested in what you heard today and you want to hear more about me and see more about me, you can follow me on the socials. Twitter and Instagram are at Mr. Hume, MrHume.
Amazing. Check it out.
Thank you.
That was Jonathan Andrew Hume.
What a guy.
What a guy, and what a beautiful voice.
Yeah, what amazing pipes. And also his movement skills, so interesting what he was saying about not having trained officially in dance, and yet such a brilliant mover, and those skills being really front and centre with his puppetry in Lion King and his brilliant style of movement in Come From Away. So there you go. What a journey he's been on.
And as a movement director, you like working with people, don't you, who aren't necessarily trained dancers, but have movement in their bodies, and you like to work in that field, don't you?
Absolutely. But finding the character, the movement style with the actor is just such a joy. And often, you know, people have that in their body, in their soul. We call it sort of in the business, being in your body is the phrase. And a lot of the time people have those skills and they're not really aware of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That was our podcast. Tune in next month for another podcast.
Yes, please do join us again.
You can join us on tour. This March, our spring tour will be kicking off. We'll be starting at Theatre Clwyd in North Wales and then all across the country.
And all of those dates are on our website.
Absolutely. Go to showstopperthemusical.com and also watch our social media and our website. There just might be, a little bit of an exciting announcement coming your way soon about the West End.
Oh, a little glittery showbiz twinkle, Andrew.
A little tease there, dropped into the water to spread some sparkly joy.
Absolutely. Exciting times.
Check us out on social media, Twitter,
Instagram,
TikTok,
YouTube,
Facebook.
I
think that's all of them.
That's it, yeah.
We're not on Mastodon yet.
What is Mastodon? You're so down with the kids.
Mastodon is what a lot of people went to when it was like, oh, Twitter's going to shut down in 24 hours.
Yes.
A load of people signed up for Mastodon, which is like a decentralized version of Twitter.
Okay.
A load of people signed up and then quickly went, oh, no one's here. Oh. Everyone's still on Twitter.
And when back in the day, was Showstopper on MySpace? Were we doing social media then?
I don't think Showstopper and MySpace crossed over.
Right. Okay. I was just thinking.
Were you on
about
MySpace?
That. Yeah, I was. Yeah, but only by about 2 weeks, I think.
Right.
But I was just thinking about the dial-up tone and Showstopper and how those two timelines cross over.
Well, watch us on all of those and listen to us next month and have a lovely month.
Yes, please do. Enjoy your March.
Absolutely. And if you're listening to this after March, enjoy whatever month it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. Timelines are not my thing.
Bye.
Goodbye.